Writing romance other than other types of fiction, writers in other genres always say that romance novelists are the nicest, most helpful people in the business, and they can't figure out why. I think it's because we all believe in happy endings. Romance Writers of America defines a romance novel as a central love story with an emotionally satisfying, optimistic ending, and that could conceivably include Gone with the Wind, because after all, Scarlett thinks she's going to get Rhett back, and it might even include Romeo and Juliet, because it's emotionally satisfying to cry over a tragedy. But far and away, the most common happy ending is when the couple is committed to staying together forever, continuing to love each other as they go through life side by side, whether that's raising children or solving crimes or discovering new civilizations or whatever they can do to make their world a better, happier place. The tricky part about romance is that there are always three stories woven together. There's one for each individual character, and usually we say hero and heroine, but it could be two men or two women. Another is for their romance. That's the third strand of the braid. Both of these people need to overcome something within themselves or within the external world, or sometimes both, in order to achieve their happy ending. So that gives you a lot more threads to keep track of when you're writing a romance novel. A book can absolutely have some romance without being considered a romance novel. There are plenty of historicals and suspense and women's fiction and paranormal, action adventure, or other stories that include some romance without it being the main focus of the book. The way to tell if your book qualifies as a romance novel is imagine that it's being made into a movie. And now imagine that the actors are up for the Academy Awards. Are the two main characters up for Best Actor, Actress? Or is one of them up for Best Supporting Actor, Actress? If either one of them is Best Supporting, then the book is more about the other character's journey than the two of them as equal halves of a couple. So it's more likely another genre. It might be thriller or women's fiction or young adult, which features some romance but is not a romance novel. There is room for both character and plot to drive the story, because the real star of a romance novel is this growing relationship between whoever's falling in love. And of course, yes, they're going to face some conflict while they're falling in love, and some of it will be internal, character-driven, some of it will be external, plot-driven. Readers who prefer stories that are more plot-driven usually tend to go for action-adventure. And readers who like stories that are more about the characters tend to go for women's fiction or coming of age. Romance is right in the middle, because it can place more emphasis on either the plot or the character and satisfy all the romance readers who like that kind of book. There is an amazing variety of choices out there for any romance, whether it's a first love or romantic suspense or family drama, and each type has its own balance of plot and character. No matter which you'd rather emphasize, you're going to have readers who absolutely love that type of balance.
There are historical romances set in older times. There is contemporary romance set today. There's paranormal romance. There are subcategories of historical romance: Regency romances, Roman historicals. Regencies, for instance, are very popular because they're set in a very elegant time where the language was very high, and so you can find people pulling romance out of almost any era. You have a lot of authors who are now reconstructing historical characters, famous characters as told by their maids, their servants, their grooms, their valets, who actually play a role in the story. Little known, little was it known that the groom to His Highness was actually the person who changed history, but nobody knows about it. That sort of thing is entertaining. Then you get famous characters, but as told through a fresh viewpoint. There are so-called category love stories. I'll give you a good distinction that I very often recommend to my clients. There is the category romance, which is boy meets girl, boy and girl have a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding may be very trivial. He likes to sleep with the window open and she likes to sleep with the window closed. And they have a disagreement, they break up, and then they get back together again. That's a category romance.
So HEA is happily ever after. HFN is happily for now. And that's usually the HFN stories are the ones where there's going to be a continuation of the story. They're happy for now, but there might be some other stuff going on. For a true romance, though, if you go by most romance writers, true romance is always happily ever after. If it's a happy for now or one with a sad ending, it's not a true romance, it's something else with romance. But happily ever after, HEA, you overcome the odds, you come together. Valerie laughs at me, my friend Valerie laughs at me because I have this whole little dance that I do when I'm talking about a romance. It's, traditionally, boy sees girl, girl sees boy, they fall in love, they meet, they hate each other, they break apart, they see each other again, the end. And it's a happily ever after. They find themselves, and it's a Hallmark movie. But now the genre of romance is being redefined. With the introduction of paranormal, more paranormal, spiritual, urban fantasy, fantasy, sci-fi romance. There's so much out there, and for some things there can't be a happily ever after, but there can be a happy for now. So I think that the definition of what a true romance is it might be changing a little bit, morphing a little bit, because people want more out of their stories. Nicholas Sparks, all of his stories, it's a romance, but they don't end well, So it's a romance, but it's not, So it's just, life dealt you a blow, now you deal with it, you found love in there, and you move on. So, but it's still considered a romance.
I believe that people read fiction because of how it makes them feel. If we want facts, we'll go we'll go online, or we'll read nonfiction. But we read fiction, especially romance, for the emotional journey we're going to go on. It's all about connecting. If you want to be scared, you're going to read thrillers or horror. If you want your sense of right and wrong affirmed, you're probably going to read mysteries or, again, a thriller. We want our good guys rewarded. We want our bad guys killed, or possibly, in the case of Darth Vader, turned, although I always felt that was wrong. They should have just killed him. So that's why we read these books. We read romances because we want to affirm the relationships we have. As women especially, we believe in family and friendship and the power of being part of a community. And romance offers a community. Even in the most basic boy meets girl book, there is still a community. There are friends. There's the annoying, funny mother. That's what we want. And ongoing series like Fool's Gold, give us that times 10. So every book has a familiar setting. We develop rituals. There are things the readers look forward to. You get to visit with characters you knew before. Oh, is Felicia pregnant yet? She's going to be a crazy mother. I can't wait to see that. That sort of thing. And we see the friendships that develop over time. And an ongoing series allows us to go places where a standalone novel doesn't. There are times you just want to get in, get out, get on with it. And the one-off is really great. But there are times, especially for romance readers, we want to sink in and really feel it. And that's what a connected series allows us to do. And as a writer, it's a blessing. I mean, I know all the restaurants, I know the cast, I know the secondary cast, I know the inside jokes. I'm not reinventing the wheel every time. So I love writing a series.
What's not to love about the romance genre? So when I was a little girl, and I'm sure I'm replicating this with my daughter now, one of my main memories was my mother reading romance novels. And there was always a stack of books on the counter in the kitchen. I always remember that. And she was a voracious reader. So it's no surprise, I think, that when I was way too young, probably 11 or 12, I started reading romance novels and loved them. It's always been my preferred genre as a reader. I do read everything, but I love romance. There's something magical, I think, about the idea that love makes the world go round, and that love can heal wounds. And when I write my books, at the core of every book I write, regardless of which name I'm writing it as and which subgenre I'm in, my books are all about the emotional connection between the characters. And I know I'm hitting the mark on the emotional connection between the characters if, when I'm writing the book, if I'm laughing and I'm crying, I'm as wrapped up in their lives as if they're real, which is how it should be when you read a book. It should feel to the reader like it's real. I think it is as the writer, so I always hope that translates. And above and beyond just loving the romance genre as a reader, it's such a pleasure to write. It's such a pleasure to write these stories. I have the best job in the world. I get to make up stuff all day about fun people. It couldn't be better.